Stay tuned for the second half of the Wake Up Mission Show.
Here at the Wake Up Mission Show, we want all of our listeners to be debt-free and financially free. We believe a free market system is best for the restoration of liberty. If you are tired of looking for a job in this hopeless market, or if you are struggling to pay your monthly bills, let us help. We have several income opportunities for you, which are tested and proven by our company, the Wake Up Mission LLC. To learn more, go to our website, www.thewakeupmissionshow.com, and click on the Financial Solutions tab.
Welcome back to the Wake Up Mission Show.
Well, today we've got a couple other, not everybody in Hollywood, of course, are progressive. We have a couple examples of that today. Directors, cinematographers, editors, producers of the Liberty documentary, which we've talked about on this show before. We've got Neil Rademacher and Jeremy Rounds with us today. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, well, no, we really appreciate it. So tell us about the film, Liberty documentary, and how it came about.
Well, Liberty documentary came about when I was in the middle of a rehaul of Liberty Movement Radio with Margaret, and she had proposed to me that we need to make a movie to kind of rekindle some of the things that we had going on during the Paul campaigns, and a lot of us are at a loss and kind of are misdirected, and a lot of us have gone in many different directions, and I think a lot of those things can be confusing, and I really want to expose some of these different schools of thought and people's different views on liberty and how different and diverse we all are, that we came together for the cause of the core value of liberty.
And that's really true because, you know, my path was different than, you know, other people's paths. I actually was a socialist, years ago, college years, and I rebelled. I mean, from a Christian home, but I rebelled against all of that. I rebelled against the establishment and listened to teachers and professors, allowed myself to be indoctrinated, but I changed. You know, once you get a mortgage and you go out into the real world, you're either going to learn from it or not. I, went back to, stopped being a prodigal daughter, came back to Christ, and it really changed me. But I went the other opposite direction, Neil and Jeremiah. I went all the way to being a Republican conservative, even endorsing the Bush family. So that's how far I went. And then thankfully 9/11 and some other things woke me up, got educated. But we are all very different. Like I remember in the Liberty Movement, I'm sorry, I'm not, I know one of you is. I'm not for open borders. I believe that it's the death of, part of the death of liberty in the Constitution, because we're bringing in a lot of unchecked, individuals that like socialism, for example. So we all did have different points of view. You're absolutely correct. But yet we all got along. That was a thing because we had a purpose, and that was try to get Ron Paul into office. But since then, and I would like for you two to address this as you've talked to all these liberty individuals post the Ron Paul movement. I have my friend like Robert Wu. He's a young guy. He's very, very distraught. He's very upset. He's not supporting Rand Paul. He thinks the liberty movement's all breaking up and they're all arguing with one another, and wondering what two of you found out in this journey for the Liberty documentary.
Well, I think this is Jeremiah, and I think what we've discovered is that there's a lot of different viewpoints, and there's a lot of different people doing different things. And like Neil had said, one of the points of the film is to show these different thoughts and also show that we may differ on specific points, like, the open borders thing. That's one piece, though. And, even if added all together, our differences make up 10% of total of what we believe, that's still 90% of our core beliefs are the same. And it seems like libertarians are one of the few people groups that are willing to fight each other over that 10% difference. I mean, the Republicans are all over the place. I mean, you've been in there and you've seen that if Ron Paul had won the nomination, all the Republicans would have voted for him just because he's Republican. They can stand together just based on a platform where even if they disagree with 90%, they're still going to band together to beat those Democrats. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think they're willing to do that, and libertarians are willing to fight and argue over a tiny difference in, one or two different policies that you may disagree on how to implement it. But you still, the point is, we want as much freedom as possible for as many people as possible, and we may disagree about how to do that. So in our experience in what we've filmed so far, we've seen a very broad spectrum of different ways of doing things. But I think one of the points of the film and what we've discovered is that if we can present these ideas in a calm manner and speak about them, then we can unite over the stuff we do agree with and agree to disagree on some of the other stuff. As Ernest Hancock said, as long as there's room in your plan for me to have my plan, we'll get along. And I think that's maybe what we need to have is the ability for us to be different, be okay with having differences.
Right, right. Totally agree. And it really is your film. It's a who's who of the Liberty movement. And, in fact, Randy, many of them have been on our show or are friends of mine, like G. Edward Griffin, Josh Tolley, and Gigi, of course, Bowman, and Adam Kokesh, Gerald Salente, Anthony Frida. That's just to name a few. Tell us a little bit about the individuals that you selected to be in the Liberty documentary and what they feel the future is of Liberty.
Honestly, we have a list of people who confirm to be a part of the project, and we're adding people as we go along. There's still a lot of unforeseens as far as when we go to a certain town, if we could interview a local activist that we didn't know of or who wasn't so prominent, we'll go ahead and interview them also. We really want to take this to the local level of things, to people who don't get much voice. But also, I mean, it's an open mic for everybody. And a lot of people, think I'm directing it, but it's kind of not really like that. I'm directing it and I'm orchestrating, the gears to happen, me and Jerry. But, honestly, it's a self-directed movie. It's almost like an experiment because I'm not trying to get people to say a certain thing. I have my own personal viewpoints. And I'm setting those aside, to give an honest opinion of, I don't want to push my agenda. I just want to hear what other people have to say. And we're doing that in such an open source fashion that really it's going to be hard for people to try to think that we spun, our message or tried to sway it in this direction or that direction because of the way we're releasing the project and so on.
Yes. And specifically what we're doing that hasn't really been done ever before is we're going to be cutting, an hour and a half, 2 hour long movie, just like any other documentary you'd see. And that's going to be distributed on, Netflix and iTunes and Amazon and all those places, as well as our website and as well as, DVD, Blu-ray, all that stuff. But what we're doing that's different is, like Neil said, when we go and talk to all these, we've got over 100 people on our list right now. And we're going to interview as many of those people as possible. But obviously, putting 100 people into an hour and a half means everybody gets to talk for about 30 seconds. So some people aren't going to make it, and some people are going to be featured more prominently than others. But every single one of those interviews will be available on our website for anybody to watch in its entirety. So
it's probably a good thing we never met up, Neil, because I can talk for hours.
That's great, though. That's great because we may use a minute or two of it in the documentary, but then if that minute or two strikes home with somebody and they say, "Wow, I really like what they had to say in that little piece," they can listen to your entire 2.5 hour interview if they want to and get all the information in context and see that there's no spin. It's just you can hear what's being said in context, and that's really important to us.
That's fantastic. And as a matter of fact, I want to play a clip. This is actually your trailer, the Final Liberty trailer. I'd like to play this, and then you can talk about it afterward.
Liberty to me is really just the absence of violence towards other people. It's being able to act freely.
The ability to do whatever I want, as long as it's not hurting somebody else.
Minding my own business and staying out of other people's business.
It's also taking responsibility for as many of your own needs as you can.
It is respect for the absolute right of the individual to be left absolutely alone.
Liberty to me is not being ruled by another human being.
Liberty is very simple. I cannot be free if I cannot be left alone to have my own plan.
Our crew is reaching out to those who truly want to live a life of liberty, where they can feel free to do the things that are most important to them without fear of any force or aggression.
Our film will be exploring the liberty movement in America, beginning with the unifying campaigns of Ron Paul in 2008 and 2012, and leading up to the current schools of thought and the ideologies that are prevalent today. But more than that, we'll be looking forward to a future where liberty is not just an idea, but it's a way of life.
When you believe in liberty, you can always appeal to people, whatever their general political viewpoint is.
You do it peacefully. You do it, with persuasion. You do it out of a sense of love. You do it because you want, the best for you and your family. And that extends to everybody else's. There's no central plan for freedom, but to think that you're going to vote yourself free means you have not been paying attention.
If the voting process is not secure, then our very democracy is at risk.
I guarantee you, in the future, government is going to be bigger, stronger, and it's going to take more liberty than it does today.
We all know that anyone's words could be twisted to fit a given agenda. That's why we will be releasing every minute of footage we capture on a new distribution platform our team is currently developing. If someone featured within our film resonates with you, their interview will be made available in its entirety. If we film 200 hours of footage, you will have access to all 200 hours of that footage.
With your help, we can travel the country and speak with the most brilliant minds of the movement about liberty, personal freedom, how to achieve it, and what it means to our families and our country as a whole. So please, contribute today.
Dig deep. This is worth it. This is being part of something that will give you a legacy that your children, your family, and your friends will certainly be proud of. So please join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us on our journey.
And I absolutely love that journey. I believe with actually every single comment that was made in that trailer. So tell us a little bit about this and what funds you need right now and how people can contribute if they want to.
What we've got right now is we're running a Kickstarter campaign. We started on September 11th, kind of symbolically as a day that our liberties were being eroded in earnest, and so we started on that day to take it back, and we're going till October 11th, where we'll be in New York at Liberty Fest, and we'll be getting some more footage and stuff there and have our presence there while we wrap it up. And between now and then, we need to raise a total of $50,000. We've got several thousand so far, and we've got several people that have expressed that they'll be donating, and so that's great. What we need right now is money so that we can go on this trip and get the rest of these. Like I said, we've got 100 people on our list. We need to get as many of those people as possible. We need to travel. We need to rent equipment and have insurance and have hotels and food while we're doing it. Yeah, we're going all over the country. And when we do that, that's where the money's going, and that's what we need it for. And you can donate on our Kickstarter campaign at Kickstarter.com. Just search on there for Liberty Documentary. You can go to our website, libertydocumentary.com, and donate directly. And there's also investment opportunities for those who want to invest in the full film, all the way up to its distribution and things like that. It's more than what the Kickstarter covers, but there's investment opportunities there too for individuals and businesses.
And really, anybody who's listening, this is really educational. You want to teach your children, because this is what the New World Order knows. You control the future by indoctrinating the children. Wouldn't you rather them be educated in the trees of liberty? So if you want to invest or in your child's future, or even in the future of this country, and educate the masses on liberty, please support this film. So, when I was reading, and I don't know if I misread this or not, in addition to all the hours of footage that you're going to upload so people can look at, the whole entire complete interview of each individual, looks like you're releasing it in 3 chapters. Is that correct? The past, present, and future?
That's kind of the outline of the film. The film is actually past, present, and future. So it starts with the Paul campaigns. Leads into where we're at now, and then the ultimate purpose is to show people what the future is and how we can work together towards a goal of liberty for all. So that's what the film will cover, is those 3 topics.
Gentlemen, it doesn't seem like, I mean, look, I'm not a pessimist. I'm actually very much an optimist, so you wouldn't know that by listening to our show sometimes because we're just trying to alert people and wake them up. But with Bernie Sanders, who is an avowed socialist, he's a member of the Socialist Party of America, he's soaring in polls, especially amongst college students, just like Ron Paul did. The increased bureaucracy we're seeing, I mean, we even reported today that some scientists have gone to Obama and want to imprison, consider any of us that don't buy into the global warming junk science that we should go to jail. I mean, you know, there's just so much going on right now, especially like a freight train. Is there a bright future for liberty, or do you think people just so don't understand it that they're begging for big government because they think that that's going to solve the issues?
You know, honestly, I think there's a big. Go ahead. Oh yeah. All right. I think honestly, there's a big, huge war, like linguistically going on, and then they've been hijacking words for years. You got Bernie Sanders up there on stage, and he's got a big liberty sign behind him, and you got, you know, the idea of like Jeffersonian, like classical liberals, and those were the real liberals, but now you would have to categorize them as libertarians. And then, so my main purpose is to kind of unconfuse people as to the dictionary definitions of some of these things and expose them, because there's a lot of words out there that are skewed, you know, and misled to their definition. A lot of people don't know what the true meaning of these words are anymore. And, you know, take the definition of liberty and coercion, or the definition, you know, we're talking about like Black's Law Dictionary, something like really solid with historical, you know, history to it. And you know, like capitalism, people say, hey, I'm against capitalism. I always ask them, what type of capitalism are you against? Because there's many types of capitalism, and the one we don't use is called free market capitalism. We don't use it. And so, you know, a lot of people are confused, you know what I mean, about words. And I just want to kind of clarify that we have our own perceptions on these things, but it doesn't change the meaning of the word, even if we don't exist. If I didn't exist, liberty would still mean what liberty meant. And, you know, it's really easy to kind of unscrew your mind from the misconceptions when you pick up a dictionary and you can go, okay, this is what this word means. Am I for it or am I against it? Because, you know, a lot of these things are direct opposites, so you have to choose one or the other. Do you support slavery or do you support liberty? There's not really much gray area in between that.
Yeah, and I think
go
one
ahead.
of the other things is that, like you mentioned, people are looking to these different people for answers, and the reason is because they're looking for change. And I think that's the important thing. Right now, people are looking for something different because we've had such the same for so long, and the new generation is saying, we don't want that. Bernie Sanders, love him or hate him, he's different. He's saying things in a way that appeals because it's a very different way of saying them than a lot of people have said it before. Same thing with Donald Trump. Love him or hate him, he's saying things in a different way, and it's getting attention. And that's kind of what we can hit on right now, is people are so hungry for something different that if we give them the real different thing, which is, you know, they're not seeing that both sides are on the same coin and on the same payroll. They're not seeing that. But if we can show these people that, then we can open their minds to the fact that you want something different, liberty is different. We've never had that in our lifetimes, in truth. And
not since
this is something
1871.
Exactly. And so kind of, I mean, what can be done with a film right now I think is so amazing, because we have many examples of movies. I mean, a lot of us were waking up to 9/11 or, you know, different psyops or false flag events through film. We've been, you know, someone's cared and shared a YouTube video with us, and we watched it and said, wow, I never saw this before. I didn't know this. And now I'm seeing something different. Take a film like Blackfish, SeaWorld. Their profits went down 84% in 1 year because of that film. And that's what we're trying to do with Liberty, is we're trying to make a film that will affect people on that level where they can watch it, be affected, send it to their friends, do all, you know, watch as much as they want to watch on it. But ultimately, it changes fundamentally the way that the mass mind works. And now they don't do something that they used to do. People used to go to SeaWorld. Now they don't. People used to think that Democrat Republican is the way to go. And now, hopefully, after they watch our film, they'll say, no, I don't want to play that anymore. And that's what we're trying to do with it.
Randy and I left that two-party game system a long time ago, especially for me, gentlemen. What I witnessed the first time in the 2008 election of Ron Paul, that was enough for me. That's when I knew we don't elect them; they're selected. You can't get past their very tight delegate process. And do you discuss that also? Because I think I heard in the clip you cannot vote us into liberty again. So is that talked about substantially in the film?
Certainly. We because a lot of the people that we're interviewing were there for the campaigns. I mean, I myself was a delegate in Clark County, Nevada for 2012. I lasted a little bit longer than you, and I thought maybe I was 90% sure that it's all a sham, but I figured if I'm wrong, this is the one time that maybe it's worth betting on that 10%. And I did, and the national convention happened, and I was like, nope, we were right. It's all a sham. And
we're going to be talking about a lot of those dirty tricks that were played, and we want to cover a lot of the unknowns, like the teleprompters and stuff like that. I mean, that's the black and white to a lot of people. You know, you can't deny that. We have actual proof, people.
Yeah. And that's what I used to say to people during that time. I wasn't as involved in 2012 for a couple of reasons. One, I was disillusioned after 2008, but two, I was pregnant. But I did go see Ron Paul still in Vegas when he was there. I happened to be there for the sheriff's convention. Sheriff Richard Mack's convention, but it just definitely was a sham. My sister too was a delegate in Nevada, but in 2008, and my sister does it. My sister's a strong woman, and when she called me crying, I knew there was an issue. You know, so how do we get? I mean, it's all you hear about right now is the POTUS election. What can we do? Is this mentioned? Is there solutions in the movie? What can we do to restore liberty?
Yeah, actually, even right now, we're releasing stuff as we go, too. So right now, if you go to our YouTube channel, Michael Bolden from the 10th Amendment Center.
He's great.
Yeah, he's awesome. And he gave us a piece that we just released, and we're going to be releasing at least every other day. We're going to be putting out new clips, but his actually specifically deals with what you can say to Republicans and Democrats to kind of get them started on the path to liberty. So it's a pretty cool video.
Awesome.
But I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do, and I think there's no one solution. That's the cool thing about the movement, is that it's not like you have to do one thing, and if you don't like that, well, then you're not part of the movement. There's lots of ways. And as long as everybody's aiming towards the same thing, I think there's a lot of paths that will reinforce each other on that road.
And you're absolutely right. There is more than one way. And one of our favorite people, I mean, he's one of my all-time favorite guests on the show, Anthony Frida. I just think the man is brilliant. And he is doing what I think we need to do more of. You know, I was an actress. I worked all the time. I miss it sometimes until I look and say, if I ever went back to Hollywood, I would never get hired not because I don't have the skill, because I'm not a progressive. And but Anthony is correct. We have to get into the arts. We have to write plays and films and do what you're doing, documentaries, music. I mean, music is a big thing. That's how they transformed the first time in the radical, 60s and 70s, the generation before us. That's what they did. So is that a in film? I mean, I think we need a lot more of affecting arts and entertainment.
Look at how much effort they've gone through to control the media. Why would they do that? Because it works. So we need to do that too, because it works. Because people are touched. When you watch a film, you're not just touched by the information, you're touched by the people that you're looking at, the sound you're hearing, the sensory recall that you have. It's a whole experience with the music and everything that's going on that is more effective than any one of those things combined. You can send someone a piece of paper that has all the exact same information, and they're not going to come away moved by it like they are when they watch a film or listen to a piece of music. And I think that is extremely important for people to realize, is that this is a medium that reaches people like nothing else does. Just think back to the things that have changed your mind, and usually it's not a document you read. It's something that you watched or heard on the radio, or a person that you spoke to in person. It's
some
this
form
whole
of media.
experience. Yeah, it's the media that reaches people, and that's why they do so much to control it. That's why they own all the major channels, and that's why things like the internet are so empowering, and why they keep trying to shut those things down. Because they know if they can't control it, they can't control the minds of the people.
They don't want the thought to dawn on people that just doing it is what they fear the most. Just direct action, not asking for permission, and innovating, and just keep pushing on without permission. I mean, it's really that easy. People don't understand that I could do this without asking. And as long as you have a moral compass and you have a principle that you go by that doesn't involve really hurting or treating other people or taking from them which doesn't belong to you, then anything's open game. There's really kind of like Ayn Rand and the whole philosophy there.
Right, exactly. It's interesting that you both are saying this. Earlier on the show, I was discussing a group of, it was Will Ferrell and Susan Sarandon and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They all came out and signed something endorsing Bernie Sanders. But what was really caught my attention was the fact that they called themselves We the Cultural Leaders. And that just, I was like, 1984 is here. It kind of gave me goosebumps. But although I don't think that they're leaders, they're absolutely right about affecting the cultural and affecting the way people think.
Absolutely. That is, whether or not they should be, that's absolutely true. They are cultural leaders. People look up to people that have been on stage or in a film for no other reason than they're famous, and they think that entitles them to something that's to some greater understanding. And in a way, I mean, having a lot of money and having access to those worlds does open some doors that most people aren't privy to, but it doesn't. The fact is that people are influenced by Lady Gaga and, name your celebrity. Whether or not they should be, they are. And that's where we need to have a presence, because people are affected by media, and we can use that for good. It's in and of itself, fame is neither good nor bad. It's what you do with it. And I think we can push those buttons and reach those people that way.
Well,
right. One of the hold on, Randy. One of the individuals who really affected me some years back, I was the campaign manager for a Libertarian gubernatorial candidate here in California, Art Olivier, who had been a Libertarian vice president against Dick Cheney some years before that. But I had a friend, my friend Yazik, worked for Aaron Russo. And, when he was still alive, Aaron invited us, thanks to my friend Yazik, into his home. And I sat there and screened his film, America, Freedom to Fascism, with him. I was already, fantastic. I was already waking up, Neil and Jeremiah, but just sitting there, you're right, watching that's when I learned about Ron Paul and G. Edward Griffin, and my whole eyes just it completely shifted. My whole way of thinking. I was no longer a Republican after that. And
you organized it well. A lot of these thoughts were in my mind too, and I can ditto your thought on that. I was not asleep before America, Freedom to Fascism, but it just really hit me. It really hit me, and a lot of people, went through the veil on that one.
Yeah, well, speaking of veils, both of you have, besides Liberty Documentary, you both have other ventures like Collective Minds Media, The Conscious Resistance. Share with our listeners about your other ventures and what you're trying to accomplish.
Oh, sure. You want to go first, Neil?
Sure. The Conscious Resistance is actually Derek Brose's creation, and me and him partnered up a while back to kind of collaborate and to see how far we could take the Conscious Resistance concept, and it's doing actually really good. It's 100% voluntary. I think we have about 27 contributors that contribute all the time, and we're really focusing on expanding it next year. And then I work under the umbrella, so to say, Uncorporate Media, and my main task is just to reach out to activists and help them with support and technical things, and try to fill in gaps where they don't have much support. And I just, I like reaching out and helping people. I try to be the help that I want for other people. That's kind of my motto.
That's fantastic, Neil. And Jeremiah?
So Collective Minds Media is a company that we set up about 5 years ago now with my friend William Hopp. He's the president and I'm vice president. And the goal of Collective Minds Media is to further the arts in as many ways as possible, reaching out to people who, especially in film, that's our main focus, because a lot of people can't have that voice because Hollywood won't listen to you unless you've already made $1 million. And so we're trying to create a system where people with ideas, we can help them get funding for it. We can help them fix what might need fixing in order to make it a viable product and help them out with financing and things like that.
Pretty much, and all our endeavors are along the same philosophy of helping and giving resources and collaboration.
Right,
Exactly,
that's fantastic. And do you find, because when I worked in Hollywood the first time, and I had some success. I wasn't political, so I never talked about it. It never was as an issue. But post that I'm very awake. Now I quit because I started having a family and I wanted to be a mom who stayed at home with their children. But I've since have had friends tell me, because there's the group Friends of Aid, which was underground. Everybody pretty much all knows about it. But that they keep silent because they don't want to lose their jobs. I had one friend say her car got keyed because they found out what side of politics she was on. Do you think that will ever change, or do we have to create our own new Hollywood?
I think that's the wonderful thing. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the wonderful thing about technology and the internet and online distribution and things like that. Which also, that's one of the things we're creating a new distribution system for this film. This is kind of the not really the pilot, but the flagship. Thank you. Of the whole system is our online distribution, and how we're going to be allowing people to interact with the media is it's new and it's still experimental, but it's an open playground for anyone. I can go out tomorrow, shoot something with a couple friends on a DSLR, and put it up on YouTube, and if it's good and then word gets out, I can make money off of it through YouTube advertising. So the model of how films had to be distributed, they had to go into theaters, and they wouldn't put anything in there that they didn't have an example of it already succeeding. So if you have something amazing but no one's done it before in the same way, well, it's not going out there because no one's going to risk it because it takes a lot of money. Now it doesn't take a lot of money to get it in front of a lot of eyes, and so I think that's the future of media, is doing it yourself or doing it with a couple friends, or working with a company that's open to that kind of collaboration. Is anybody with a good idea and dedication can make a quality film or a quality album or any other type of digital art and put it out there and distribute it. And if you've got some good people promoting it and talking to people about it and getting excited about it, it can catch on and go worldwide and have 10 million views.
There is a change happening in media where you could look at sites that have existed for quite a while, like VMO and even Netflix, where they're becoming their own production companies, and they're using their finances and research, and resources to really help independent artists get up off the ground. And even though that's a good medium, it's a bridge, from the old way of doing things. I think what we're coming up with this platform is going to take it more independent than the corporations like Netflix and VMO trying to do that. We really are trying to cater to the local and to the independent filmmaker. And, if we have resources, let's put those resources together and make a better product and get it further and get it exposed.
Fantastic. Randy, and I'm sorry, I don't know how Randy puts up with me. We are like an old married couple.
Yes,
I cut him off all the time. When I get going, I can't stop. But Randy, I know you have some questions, and I know I interrupted you. So my friend, go for it.
Randy.
Okay, well, hi guys.
I really can appreciate what you're doing, and there's a couple of things you guys touched on that kind of struck a chord, and I'll go back chronologically, like when you first came on, as far as like did people have different ideas about what our liberty is supposed to be, and it reminds me of like when the founding fathers set this country up. It wasn't like they all went in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 10 o'clock they had all agreed on everything that the Constitution was going to be about. I'm sure there was a lot of heated discussions, and maybe a few, well, let's step out back behind the building, fist fights and stuff like that. So I think that that's I do a lot of association in my warped mind. When somebody says one thing, I associate it with something else, and what you mentioned, that's what I thought of, and with a broad audience seeing all these different ideas, then they can interpret it how they want, and it may have them open up and think of something in a new way, or maybe even come up with an idea. So God bless you both for that. And with like the corporate control, a couple of like maybe 2 years ago, the Tea Party movement and the Occupy movement had almost come together, because there was a lot of common ground that a couple little petty differences over some issues. The overall bigger picture was they both wanted the same thing and agreed with it, but of course the powers that be, like Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, looks like they have put plants in both sides, driven a wedge into that movement, because God forbid the people unite and actually do something without the permission of them. We don't need their permission anyway.
Fences work both ways, and what they can do, we can do in kind of a fashion. And what I really envision for this project is almost, and I'm reaching out there, but almost like a constitutional convention. And they got together, they shared their ideas, but in a way, that's with technology the way it is, it's almost like a version of a convention in a digital form, a round table. Bringing everybody to the table and rediscussing what these viable options are, and what are the strategies that people are creating and actually underway with currently already. A lot of these things aren't getting the media exposure. A lot of technologies are suppressed, and we can open, if we can just reach out to a handful of people that can reach out to another handful of people and express to people that, hey, this one guy in this documentary, we watched the full interview, and he mentioned this one guy that created an engine that runs off of water. That's where I'm really having a lot of hope, is just exposing alternates, counterculture, and counter technologies, that in open source fashion, like Linux. I'm a Linux guy, but I can't use Linux because all the programs and stuff that I need to be able to make money are, stuck on a Macintosh and a PC.
Right.
Oh my gosh, my son will love you. I'll play this part. He's such a Linux freak, so he's gonna love what you said.
Yeah, and you guys, we brushed over, like the big name celebrities, and whether people love him or hate him. He said things that pissed me off and things that I agreed with. But Charles Barkley, one time, I don't know if somebody asked him a question, but he made the comment, for reason or another, and he basically said, "Look, I'm not your kid's role model. You be your kid's role model." And that's like a problem with our society is, they look at what they see on TV or hear on the radio, and athletes are that's basically what it boils down to. It's like professional wrestling. It's entertainment, but those guys are athletes. Well, the National Football League is no different. They're athletes, but they're entertaining you. And I really like what Barkley said about that, is like, you be your kid's role model. I'm not your role model. I'm just a basketball player, and now he's a sports analyst or whatever. And when you mention like the like soundtracks of movies, like the audio visual where it touches someone, I know there was a political statement in the movie Avatar, but I never really paid attention to it because I thought it was a really cool movie, you know, with all the special effects. But the soundtrack, you know, I thought it was outstanding, especially in the battle scenes. And lastly, with the change of the distribution network, you know, what you guys mentioned, it touched on a show we did a while back. You know, Gene Simmons got flack for saying that, you know, speculating that rock and roll was dead. And, you know, we did, I think, 2 hours on that. And, you know, rock and roll is not dead. The music industry is not dead. You know, it just evolved. And like with the film industry, like what you guys are doing, it's evolving where, like, you control over your product now instead of, you know, going up to, like, say, the, you know, the suits that, you know, pick your studio and groveling, will you please put our film in theaters? We'll do whatever you want. And it was the same as, like, sending demo tapes to the radio station or record labels, hoping somebody would put.
Yeah.
And
that used to be the only way you could do it, but now people are choosing. Even like Kevin Smith, who is, you know, he makes tons of money, and the studios love him and release his stuff. He chose. I don't remember which film it was. It was one of his recent films. He chose to distribute it himself and just go to theaters, and he turned a profit that way. And it's more difficult. It's not, you know, it's easier to just hand someone the reins and say, you know, make it happen. And yeah, it's going to make 10 times as much money, but you're going to keep most of that, and I'll hopefully still make a profit. That's the easy thing to do, but it's not the only way of doing it. And he was successful just taking, was it Tusk or Red? I don't remember which one it was. It was one of his latest films, and he was able to do that himself. And I think that's the future, is just doing it yourself and not asking for, I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking for help if you can get it, but knowing that that's not your only option, I think, is important. Right.
I mean, you know, back in the day, you know, the record company and the movie studio, they would make you or break you, or, you know, you couldn't even get onto the property. You know, security would be, you know, hauling you out of there by the seat of your pants. And, you know, that's what I like about, I mean, you know, you know, you have more responsibility. You know, like say if, you know, I wrote a great album and, you know, it's all here on my computer, but if I don't do anything with it, then that's not EMI's fault. That's my fault for not promoting it.
I'm going to stop you right there, Randy. See, Jeremy, that's liberty. See, what did the founding fathers tell us? We were supposed to be responsible for our lives and our actions, and we have allowed ourselves in every aspect of our life to allow others to take care of it all. So I
always tell people, liberties won't exercise themselves for you, and so neither will rights. You know, they don't jump out of your pocket and start working for you. You got to exercise them. You got to keep them in shape, and you got to use them for them to work. You know?
Yes, exactly. Sorry, Randy, did you have a question?
Real quick,
well, I wanted to ask you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, dude.
You had said something about soundtracks and music, and it just kind of sparked my mind that we hadn't mentioned the fact that we've got Jordan Page on board, and he's creating the soundtrack.
I love Jordan. Jordan's such a cool guy. Yeah, he's super
I just wanted to plug him for a second, because if you listen to the trailer, I think pretty much everything that's on there is all his music, and he's just been a great help to us. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, we love Jordan. Jordan's an absolutely great guy. And hi, Jordan, and to your lovely wife and ever-growing family. You rock.
Yeah, he did. That was some pretty heavy, sounded like some pretty cool metal stuff you got on with that soundtrack.
Well, Jordan does just about everything. He's got some really great just acoustic songs that he does, very heartfelt, some Christian songs. He's really a very versatile musician, a singer-songwriter for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a great addition to our cast.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right on.
That's the love fest for you, Jordan. If you're listening, I'll be sure to send you a link to this.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
That's just, and he's, you know what, gentlemen, Jordan's a perfect case in point, though. That is a guy that has so much talent. charming guy, a good-looking guy, younger guy who should really be at the top of the music industry. But they don't want people like Jordan because he sings the truth, and they don't want that. So this is why, as you guys say, we have to do what we're doing because nobody is going to do it for us. Well, I've got a couple more questions, but first I want to make sure for anybody who's just tuning in, yes, this is the Wake Up Mission Show here with Neil and Jeremiah talking about entertainment media, but most specifically Liberty and their documentary, the Liberty documentary. Again, where can people donate if they wish to donate? Because this is a worthy cause. And what is your website?
It's LibertyDocumentary.com.
LibertyDocumentary.com, and that links you to our Facebook and to the Kickstarter campaign that we've got running right now, which is what we're trying to focus on is raising funds to there so we can start our production and have it out in time to affect people during the election cycle.
I was going to ask you, or as we like to say, the selection cycle.
Yes.
I was going to ask if you were going to have it out in time before that. But also, I noticed if you go to IMDb, Jeremiah, and I don't know if you know this, but they have Creative Minds. They have listed there Loose Change. So was your company or your partner, business partner ever? No, that was a different company?
No, that's a different company with a very similar name. Good film, though.
Yeah, it's a great film. Actually, Art, when I was his campaign manager, made watching him, he said, "You want to start getting some answers? Here you go." So absolutely. And 9/11, of course, was just a couple weeks ago, and that's when you started your campaign too. Why should people still care that people like us still try to get the truth out about 9/11?
It's always important to expose the fact that we're being lied to on a daily basis, and that's just one example. So I think it's important for people to realize, whatever the specifics, and me personally, I'm not speaking for anyone but myself, but I don't know what happened on 9/11. What I do know is the official story is not the truth.
Right.
And I think that goes for almost everything where there is an official story and doubt to what's going on.
Oklahoma
and there's always
City,
doubt to what's going on. Everything. Yeah. There's the list is whenever anything happens that allows them to change the law, there's probably something going on that is being lied about. And I think that's
this strikes a chord with me, and it reminds me, if I look around today on a personal note, what's happening today reminds me exactly what was explained in 1982 in the Weather Underground interview with Larry. I can't pronounce his last name, but he exposed, the Weather Underground's plan. If you listen to that plan over again here in 2015, if your jaw doesn't drop, I don't know what will make it drop.
I need to watch it again. I watched the Weather Underground documentary because that interview's in the documentary, correct? I watched it some years back when I first started waking up. But you're right. In fact, Jeremiah and Neil, you're both so correct. If you watch anything from some years ago, even if it's not a documentary, even if it's a Hollywood film, even case in point was a film, before our times, Network.
Wag the Dog.
Network.
Remember that one?
Oh, yeah, Wag
Network,
the Dog.
Yeah.
Right. You watch any of them. Yes. And it just, it really does open your eyes to the fact that they do tell you what they're going to do.
Yeah, it's in plain
sight.
That's what I tell people.
Up. Yeah,
and I understand the occultism side of things, but to me, it's they've funneled it into, to me, the equivalent of a hashtag. When you call everything Illuminati, you might as well just put a hashtag in front of it, because to me, a lot of our enemies, even though very occultish in nature and they do ritualistic, things, we need to focus on the CFR, on the TLC, on Bilderberg, and these places that are in plain sight. And when you go back and watch the underground video, the Weather Underground video, it really, they don't have any problem saying what they're going to do. We all know this. We've all seen quotes and this and that. They say, if you say the New World Order, you're the one that's crazy. But then how many thousands of clips do we have them bringing it up and mentioning it and bringing light to it of their own nature? So, it's like, who's crazy? And we got media to prove, and document, it's documented. It's in our, human archives now, and it's there.
Thanks to the internet and YouTube, you can share that with people. That's the awesome thing. Imagine, 20 years ago, how hard this movement would. The difference in climate is that it's instantly shareable. So you could talk with someone, and while you're still talking to that person on the phone, you can use your phone to call up a clip on YouTube and send it to them, and they can watch it and instantaneously be enlightened. And I think that's really, really powerful. That's an awesome thing.
Social media.
Yes, Randy, did you have a question, sweetie?
Well, I was just agreeing, as far as sharing the information, like, something you can share on social media, a lot of information now. And that's why they're trying to shut the internet down. And that's why back in 2000, they tried to shut down talk radio with that quote unquote fairness doctrine, because when they tried to pass amnesty and they all got their heads handed to them. And in 1986 and 1965, when the first, or 87 or 86, whatever hell year, when they passed amnesty, and in 65 with the Kennedy immigration bill, had this information been available, had Al Gore invented the internet back in the early 60s as opposed to now. The Kennedy immigration bill and that amnesty in 86 would have happened, because nobody knew what the hell was going on. Walter Cronkite sure as hell wasn't going to tell you.
What you do today affects tomorrow, for sure, and hopefully what we do today affects people 40 years from now, and gives them more opportunities that we never had.
Amen, brother. Now, your film, are you going to enter it into film festivals?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the goal is to get it out there in as many ways as possible, and we're going to take advantage of every avenue and every opportunity that we can either create or that happens upon us through contacts that we make. So, absolutely, we're going to do the festival run, because that's one way that people see it. You reach a certain crowd that way. We're going to be doing, festivals, non-film festivals, but like Liberty festivals and music festivals and things like that, because you reach a different crowd of people there. We're going to be doing it, through social media. We're going to be doing it through, we're going to be approaching big studios, because why not? They have an opportunity. Because if Sony Pictures says, you know what, we think we can make a lot of money off of this, then they'll release it. They don't care about the message. They care about the money. And that serves us, because if they can put it in theaters, people will watch it. And so why not take advantage of it?
They can't change the way we're releasing it.
Yeah, my friend Art took his film, Operation Terror, which is a 9/11 truth film, to the AFM, which is, for those who don't know, American Film Market. It's always in Santa Monica every year, and he got interest. Now, unfortunately, and he's won. I mean, that film, I've got a small part in it myself. It's won tons of film festivals. But in the long run, the studios that were interested, all of a sudden, they were told they couldn't be. But I think this is a little bit different, because all you're doing is you're talking about liberty. You're not really exposing anything like a 9/11 film would. So I think you're absolutely right. You should go to AFM and get your film out there and put it in movie theaters and everything else on your own. Once again, it is Liberty Documentary.com. I think that this would make great for homeschooling. It'd be great for viewing in film class, any college or across this country, if that will allow it. I think that it's great for those of your friends that you should buy a copy of it when it's out on DVD, to share it with individuals that you want to educate them on liberty. I think for those activists, all those events that you go to or concerts you go to, you just hand them out. Make sure that people learn, so that we don't see this growing tyranny anymore. So, gentlemen, thank you for this documentary. What's next for both of you in the last couple of months? What are you both working on next after this?
This is Neil. I'm working on a TV pilot with a activist called Jeff for Justice, and we're going to do a homeless outreach kind of thing. And then
awesome.
The Conscious Resistance. I'm really looking forward to getting back to the Conscious Resistance and taking that as far as we can take it.
Awesome. I like the homeless idea. I actually went down with Ted Hayes, and it was just a video. We did that here in L.A., and I think that that's such a worthy cause. And Jeremiah.
It is.
Yes.
Totally. Well, for me, I'll probably hop back on the film that we were working on. We were actually only about 2 weeks away from finishing the edit when Neil called me up and asked for some assistance in some areas. And then the CEO of my company basically said, all right, put my film on hold. It was his writing and directing debut, a film called Abductee. And it's about a guy who thinks he's being abducted by aliens. It's really, we've been told from people in the abductee community that it's the most accurate portrayal of what an alien abduction victim goes through. So we're pretty proud of that. And we were almost done with it when we got a call from Liberty. And then he pretty much said, all right, stop that. And Liberty's more important. Let's get that done, and then we'll come back to it. So that's probably next on our list for me, just finishing that up.
Well, fantastic. And when this comes out, when you guys are through with the Liberty documentary, please, one of you, both of you, Gigi, we don't care. Come back, let us know, and we'll plug it again. Again, libertydocumentary.com. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, come back and see us.
Thank you so much. Spread the word.
Oh, we will.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely come back and say hi.
All right. That's been another edition of the Wake Up Mission, an underground network connecting the dots for liberty. And tomorrow, Truth Tuesday. And again, in the second hour, our guest will be Mark Lundgren, a POTUS candidate. He just happens to be an independent. Until then, have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you for spending your time with us on the Wake Up Mission Show.